Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. This is episode 55, and today we're going to be talking about building mental toughness. And if you're brand new to the podcast, my name is Rachel Picark. I'm the founder of Soul CEO, where we help network marketers and entrepreneurs build a profitable business online without losing their family, their friends, or their soul. Really tapping into their God-given purpose and passion in this life and bringing faith-based training to help you guys get a breakthrough in your skill set, your mindset, and your leadership. If you guys haven't yet, do me a favor, go to Apple Podcasts right now and leave me a 5-star rating and a review. And if you guys are not on Apple, maybe leave me a Facebook page review or go to Spotify or Google or wherever you're listening to this. It helps bring awareness to this show. And because we don't do any ads or have any sponsorships at all, it's one of the ways that you can kind of give back, and tells me that you really like it too. Also, if you're listening on to any of these episodes, do me a favor, go to Instagram, tag me at Soul CEO, and let me know what you're listening to, what your takeaways are. I'd love to connect and follow you there as well. In this podcast, I'm giving a little bit of an update because if you're on episode 54, you know that it's been a crazy couple of months. I had some crazy health challenges, an emergency surgery, actually 2 of them. And I did something crazy this weekend. If you have been around for a little while, you know that my new husband, my amazing hunky, Tony, I love him so much. He's a marathon runner. Well, he runs marathons, and with the pandemic, that has been kind of curtailed a little bit, but races are coming back. And he ran his first marathon in about a year and a half this last June of 2021. And he's getting back into it, booking frequent races, half marathons, etc. And I ran my first 5K in June. Well, fast forward to this weekend here. We went on a romantic getaway that was kind of centered around him running a half marathon in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We stayed in Santa Fe. It was gorgeous. And I got the crazy idea to run the half marathon with him. Well, I was planning on walking, but you got to hear what happened. You got to hear this story. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I got to tell you, I went in it untrained, totally physically not ready. And I learned so much about myself. And I think that from this episode, you're going to get some nuggets about how you can put yourself in positions that stretch you, that push you, instead of falling back or avoiding the tough situations or challenges in your life, so that you can grow the muscle of a warrior and the mindset of a warrior, so that in those hard times, in those desert seasons, in those frustrating or challenging trials, that you already have the foundation set. And I think that you're going to love this episode. Take a ton of notes. If you're not driving or on a treadmill or whatever, make sure that you tag me and leave a review. So let's get into episode 55, Building Mental Toughness. Today, we're going to be talking about mental toughness. We're going to talk about building mental toughness and how it is the difference maker of you becoming an elite distributor or a master pro 10 inside of network marketing. It is definitely the difference between sitting and struggling at pro 4 or maybe pro 5 and breaking through to the 6-figure ranks. I will tell you guys that mental toughness is something that I wouldn't say that I've fully arrived. I think that in anything that you're always growing towards, you're always building. It's a muscle, if anything, but it's something that I can say that we all have pros and cons. Guys, go to the chat. Let me know, what's one of your gifts? Maybe you can cook. Maybe you can golf. Maybe you can paint. Maybe you can sing. Maybe you can dance. You know, and Melena's like, I can run. Right? Maybe you're phenomenal at raising kids. You know, look at Rita Goad, look at her family, amazing children, well-adjusted, beautiful, successful children. You know, some people's like, hey, I'm great at networking. I'm great at social media. I can make friends. I can bake, right? I will tell you that there's a lot of things I can do, a lot of things I can't, but one of the skills that I have, the traits and the things that I'm proud about is a phenomenal amount of mental toughness. And part of that has been because it has been instilled in me as I was younger. It's easy to look at people from the outside in and be like, wow, look at them so successful. Look at them so happy. They have a great family, a great marriage. They must have grown up in a family and in a household where there was no drama. Where there was no trauma, well, there was no abuse, and they must have had 2 great parents that loved them and that was always supportive and, you know, never toxic. And I think that we have these misconceptions that the toughest people The most successful people, the most courageous people didn't go through crap. And it's actually the opposite. In fact, the toughest people, the strongest people, the ones with the most perseverance often had to build that muscle and created that shell, that bulletproofness that allows them to lead at a high level in this business because of the times they were broken. Because of the times that they were broken. I got a couple stories to share with you. So first off, if you've been living under a rock, the last couple of days, I did something this weekend and I ran a half marathon. I know, it's very, very crazy, guys. I know, it's like, it is just, I can't believe it. I still grin from ear to ear the fact that I did it. Rita Gode's texting me. She goes, I do not recommend this. Turn around. You are not ready for this. You just had surgery. She goes, she was not signing off at all, right? I said, pray for me. I'm on the bus, okay? And so I will tell you guys that this half marathon taught me so much. Now, if you've been in my life like Melena has for now, Melena, what are we going on, 9 years working together? You would have known that all I have said for a better part of a decade is I don't run, right? I don't run. I said I run my mouth, I run my business, but I don't run. It was actually kind of like a catchphrase, like, don't put me down for cardio. Cardio is hardio. It's just not for me. I'd rather go lift heavy things, push heavy things. I'd rather be athletic. I'll hike all day long. I do not run. And well, what happened was I met a 6'4" lumberjack ogre on the internet. We fell in love and got married. I moved to Siberia, and lo and behold, this man is a runner. And so he runs several races. In fact, in 2019, Tony, my husband, ran 12 marathons, one a month for 12 months. He said not recommended. He goes, he doesn't think he'll ever do that again. It was insane. But he's a runner. He doesn't like to lift weights. He's super athletic otherwise, but he loves to run. For me, I laugh. I'm like, what do you mean you run for fun? Like, as a choice? Nothing's chasing you? I'm confused by this. But he's like, no, you don't understand. I love it. It's so great. So I got the idea because I'm one that has FOMO. Guys, drop a 2 in the chat if you have FOMO. Anybody have fear of missing out? So being my red personality, if there's a prize, a present, an award, an accolade, a medal, a t-shirt, a hat, if there's anything, doesn't have to be money at all. It could be a free t-shirt. I want to win it. How many guys feel that way? Drop a 3 in the chat. You guys are like, if I can get my name on that board, that little leaderboard, I'm pushing way more than anything else, right? And so I saw Tony, I got to sit at the finish line of several marathons and half marathons, and it was just so inspiring. And so lo and behold, it was almost going on a year ago, his yearly run called Grandma's Marathon, I decided to really step out in faith, and I was going to run my first 5K. Now, again, I don't run, right? So I'm like, 5K, how long is that? 3.1 miles. I said, I'll walk 3.1 miles, but running it? Are you kidding me? So I started training about 90 days prior. I was in Arizona living at the time, and it was very beautiful weather. You know, Arizona in March, early April, it's just stunning. Late February, gorgeous, not a drop of humidity in the air, 65 degrees in the morning. You're going on these runs, and I'll tell you, every step was hard. And I remember after 30, 60, 90 days, it didn't get easier. Guys, drop a 4 in the chat if you've ever ran anything, like trained for anything. I don't know about you guys. Some of you guys maybe have a special unicorn running gene. In training, it never got easier. And how much is that so parallel into business? That the calls necessarily don't get easier, that the launching new teamies don't get easier, that picking yourself up when you don't want to do the thing doesn't necessarily get easier, but you do it. And so I was training for this because I had this mindset, I had this goal in my brain that I was going to run the 5K. Well, I'll tell you guys, the 5K came and went, not at all planned. I had a very rough week that week health-wise with some sleep. I think I was so jacked up about the race that I have a super anxiety. I'm like, ah! And so I'm one of those that overthinks, what am I going to wear? What if I pass out? What if I die? I'm thinking all these things all day night, and I didn't sleep, and I did the 5K. It was 90 degrees, super high humidity in Duluth, Minnesota, and I was terrible. But I will tell you guys, after 3.1 miles, every single step sucked, except for the last one, which is across the finish line. And then they give you the medal, and you're like, oh, I like this feeling. I like this a lot. You're like, you forgot of everything. I think it's like childbirth. I've never had childbirth. Where are my mommies? right? So like all these hours and months of like, getting big and stretch marks and pain and like, GERD, you get like reflux when you're pregnant, cravings, all this sort of stuff. Then you have to go through the actual labor and delivery. I hear it is insane. And so, and then all of a sudden you get this baby, right? And like this flood of all these like emotions and, chemicals, right? All the neurotransmitters and the lovey hormones and oxytocin. And you're like, oh, I have the baby now, right? So I had the baby. It was the medal. So with that, I thought, you know what? I did the 5K. Well, Kristen Richards, who might be on the line, did the half marathon, and Tony did the full marathon. And so I saw Kristen and Tony cross the half and full marathon, along with Tony's sister did the full marathon as well. And I was so jealous. I was like, the half marathon, there's more fanfare, there's more people, there's bigger medals, it's a bigger deal. I'm like, I could do that, I think. Now, mind you, I don't run. I don't do this at all. But I just saw like, wow, that I wanted the bigger prize. I wanted the bigger accolade. I wanted the bigger, recognition. So I thought, in a year from now, next Grandma's Marathon, which is June of 2022. If any of you guys want to join us, write this down, June of 2022, Duluth, Minnesota. You can run a 5K, a half marathon, or a marathon. So if you guys want to come, there's going to be like a dozen or 2 dozen of us all doing it. I highly recommend that you come. We're going to make it's a party weekend. There's like 18,000 people there. So it was an amazing experience. So I decided to train for this half marathon 1 year later and, slowly kind of work myself up. I did one day, I walked 6 miles, and then I had surgery in July. Well, fast forward 2 months later, I'm all cleared to do any activity I like. I'm back to walking a few miles every other day. Haven't ran since my 5K. But I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. Well, we get to Santa Fe, Albuquerque, New Mexico this weekend. I'm coming to the point of the story. We get to this entire fanfare. We booked this trip, a romantic getaway. And Tony has a half marathon that he had scheduled 4 months ago. So we go to get his race packet and we're filling it out. We're asking questions about the race. And I'm sitting there FOMO. I'm like, do you have a 5K? Because I know I could do that. I could just at least walk it or run it. They're like, no, just a half marathon. And I'm like, can I sign up? And they're like, yeah, you can still sign up. And we're kind of not funny, really jokey, like, I'm not trained. I just had surgery, blah. And I dropped Tony off to go get a haircut, and I'm walking around the mall, and FOMO is setting in. I'm like, I need to go do the thing. I'm like, I'm going to be bored at 2.5 hours on a Saturday morning. I could walk the marathon. I mean, I've never walked more than 6 miles consecutively, but what is 13.1? Naturally, my brain is like, of course I could do it. So I sign up, I talk to Tony. I said, I want to walk the half marathon tomorrow. He goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, you could do it. He's so great. He's like, yeah, you could do it. By the way, guys, every single one of you guys should have been talking me out of it just at that moment. Okay, so we go back, we get my race packet, and now I'm getting excited, right? We go out to our big spaghetti dinner. We got a carb load for the big morning race. We got to get up at 4:15, drive an hour and 10 minutes to the start line. Oh, then they bus you up 30 minutes up the mountain and then drop you off in 50-degree weather, freezing your butt off at the top of the mountain to go run 13.1 miles. So all night, I sat up, not a wink of sleep. Not a wink. Not 1 minute. They say Protandim helps you sleep, not when you're super excited about a half marathon that you've never done and haven't trained for, okay? There was no helping me. I took so many medications to sleep. Nope, nothing worked. So I didn't wake up. I got up. I got vertical. And we went out to the starting line. We did all this. And I'm, drinking my coconut water, and I'm drinking my Axio, and I'm eating my banana, and I'm getting ready. And I'm like, how the heck am I going to do this? What did I do? How many of you guys ever felt that? What did I do? Like, this is a bad decision. I have regrets. Like, how did I get here? I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm standing with 300 other people. I'm looking around. They look all serious. They got their camel packs on. Like, these little backpacks with, like, water, like, little things going. They got little, like, drinks attached to their belts. They got special runner socks and shoes. They're out there, guys. They're stretching, doing all their things. And I'm just standing there in my little hoodie like, I haven't ran since June. I I have never ran more than 3.1 miles in my life. And here I am on the top of a mountain looking at 13.1 ahead of me. So we're about to get to the point where they say, get mark, get set, go, right? They do the big horn and you kind of get off and running. So we're getting all jacked up. There's music playing. It's about 300 of us. And Tony looks at me and goes, how are you going to run any of it? I was like, I don't know. I don't want to burn myself out on the front end and then not be able to finish, because I knew I could walk 4 hours. I knew I could walk 13.1. I knew it hurt, but I could do it. I said, maybe like a mile or two. Maybe a mile or two, I'll start running. And then I'll probably just kind of walk most of the way and just enjoy. I'm like, I got my Jesus tunes, got my worship music, got my earbuds in. Like, we're good. It's just going to be me, God, and the mountain, right? And so they finally kick off and everyone starts running. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get a little bit of speed up and going. And I start my normal giraffe flail. I don't really run. It's more of like a flail forward. It's more of like just kind of going and using momentum of gravity. And so I begin that process, and before I know it, I got my little Run Keeper app in, and I hear the little notification, 36 minutes and 4 seconds, total distance, 3.0 miles, average pace, 12.01 seconds. And I'm like, whoa, I just ran a 5K. Like, we're 3 miles into this, like, let's go. I feel really, really good right now. So adrenaline has kicked in, right? At this point, like adrenaline has pushed me down the mountain. So I'm feeling good. I'm like, well, as long as I feel good, I'm just going to keep flailing and running forward. Because I figure, it's just going to take time off of my 4-hour goal. So if I need to go slow at the end, I'll just get enough as I can right now. I'll tell you guys, then it started getting interesting. So at mile 4, my right hip began to hurt. And I'm not saying like an achy hurt. I'm saying every step, bone on bone hurt. At mile 6, the knees, I began to question if I had cartilage left. Because my body's like, you've never done this before. What are you doing, right? You're slamming on a pavement, but I'm still going. I'm 6 miles in, and I know we don't use the term jogging as a runner. I'm still jogging. Like I'm still kind of running and flailing forward. And I kind of just started pacing myself, and I realized, okay, I got my little belt, I have my little goo, and they have all these like runner honey things. And so every 2 miles I'd get my drink, and I did a little purple grape axio around mile 7 or mile 8. And so I'm like doing all this stuff, giving myself a little bit of carbohydrates, a little bit of sugar every 2 miles. But at about mile 6, my legs were numb, but my knees and my hips were done. They were done. And from that moment forward, the next 7.1 miles, it had nothing to do with physicality. Yeah, I love that. Cartilage has left the chat. The second half of the race was 99% mental toughness. It was mental and spiritual toughness. And it was me and really God and the mountains. And I'll tell you guys, every 4 or 5 seconds, I had mantras. I want you guys to write this down. What is your mantra? What are your mantras? What's your self-talk? Now, funny enough, if you missed the first part of the call, I'm not a runner. So I didn't know I had a runner's mantra. I was unaware that I had any sort of runner's affirmations inside of me. But they just came up. And every few seconds, guys, I'm listening to music, but it was literally in my head as a voice. You can do this. Pain is temporary. You are doing this. When I got to 4 miles, I only need to do this 2 more times. When I got to about 6 and some miles, I was like, I only have to do this 1 more time. You can do this. You are doing this. I kept saying this over and over. You can do hard things. Pain is temporary. You can do this. I ran for most of it. It was finally right around like mile 10 or 11 that I actually started getting gassed. Like my legs I never got like cardiovascular gas, but like my knees and they're just like, what are you doing? So I'd walk a little, then run a little, walk uphill, there's an incline and then get a little flat and then I'd run a little bit more. And I remember Tony's finished around 2:12, his half marathon. And he started texting me and I could hear it in my AirPods. And he was saying, you could hit 3. My goal is 4 hours. He's like, you could hit 3 hours. I was like, what? So I pull out my phone, I'm looking, I'm like, I have 3 miles left. I have 3 miles left. And I had like, I don't know what it was, like 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm like, it was gonna be close, but I could do it. Like really. But at the same time, I'm gassed. And all I could think about was like, oh my gosh, I could hit 3 hours on this thing. And every part of my body said, stop. You are dying. This doesn't feel good. You're going to create irreparable damage. Every part of my body wanted to quit, but in my brain, you can do this. You are doing this. Pain is temporary. You can do hard things. It's only 3 miles more. It's only 2 miles more. It's only 1.1 mile more. And I kept pushing myself and pushing myself. It was the spiritual and mental toughness. So I posted this weekend. And by the way, I'm not sharing this as any sort of like oh, look at how great I am. Some of you guys could like literally blow me out of the water in certain things. We all have gifts. I'm sharing this to prove a point. I got messages and it was so kind. My friends and family and followers and you guys and teamies. And people were like, girl, people train for 3 to 6 months for a half marathon. What were you thinking? Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. That's amazing. And I just kept thinking like, it was an out-of-body experience. It had nothing to do with physicality. It was completely a mental game. Write this down. Your business is a mental game. Leading at a high level is 100% a mental game. Your consistency, the attitude that you show up every day, the intentionality that you give your team is 100% a mental game. One of my favorite things to study is athletics and athletes and coaches and sports teams. I think I've read more biographies from like great coaches like Dale Brown and all that sort of stuff than I have from any other like sector in the world. It's got to be just pretty much sports teams. And I love the idea because sports and athletes, and then leadership and network marketing, they're so hand in hand. Running an organization, being a person of a championship mindset, leading a team to victory, coming from behind, working as an underdog, like that speaks to me. I don't know if it speaks to you, but guys, if you love sports, even if you don't, I'd recommend learning from them. But another thing that I've learned from is the military. One of the few areas that I have done a little bit of study with is SEAL training. Is our SEAL trainers, it's SEALs, Navy SEALs here in the US. And if you guys don't know, the SEAL program, which is an 18-month program, has nearly a 80% dropout. Some classes up to 90%. So you start with, let's say 100 SEALs, and after 18 months, you got 10 or 20 left on a good class. And part of the SEAL training, there's something called BUDS, BUDS, and it leads into something called Hell Week. This is where you get the majority of the dropouts. And what they saw is they were so frustrated that the SEALs were kind of frustrated in the sense that they had such a high dropout. So they thought, why don't they create this kind of preemptive BUDS, like this precursor, this course that you could go through, right, for a couple of months to kind of get you ready. And so the workouts were intense. I mean, they were lifting weights. They were pushing their body. And they did this for several months, only to end up, once they joined BUDS and the SEAL training, the dropout was exactly the same. So they did this whole setup with all these amazing strong men, right? Pushing them beyond their limits, like physically getting them ready for it. And they had the exact same dropout. And the leader of BUDS realized that all he was building was bigger, stronger, faster quitters. That's all he was building. Because in that training, that pre-training of buds, that setup for the SEAL training, they neglected to focus on mental toughness. A few people asked me, how did you do it? At this point, I don't know, but I do know. Here's why I know. My life has been hard. Write this down. Life is hard. Life is hard. And in the moments where I have been beaten down, we choose whether we get broken or we break through, right? Break down or break through. In every moment that I've had an issue, a struggle, instead of you seeing that and maybe even seeing a challenge and fleeing from it, because let's be honest, guys, majority of you and your team, when there is an ounce of friction, a little bit of friction, a little bit of a challenge, you retreat. 98% of our teamies, the little bit of friction. Oh, that site didn't work. The promo was messed up. The flash sale didn't launch on time. The website was jacked. My customer quit. The person said no. The distributor didn't say or do what they said that they were going to do. The company messed up. Whatever it is. Somebody said boo. The little bit of friction. And they say no. But that's how people look at their life in general, not just network marketing. It's painful to go out there and put on your shoes and run and train. It's painful to put on your workout outfit and go and lift heavy stuff. It's painful to do whatever it is to have a life of beyond mediocrity, a life of greatness, a life of excellence. Everything, the only way I got through that 13.1 miles was because of the spiritual and mental toughness. So there's a few things that I do, I look at, I really do believe it, because I was trying to reverse engineer this. How did I do this? How could I train this? How could I give legends and my beautiful friends and family, like how could I give them any insight, any value from this? And I just kept thinking that race was not done that day. That race was done in the years prior. That every morning of having the mindset that if it is hard, I must do it. If I must do it, I can. And if I can do it, I must. Nobody gets to 7 figures a year by running from friction, without having mental toughness. In fact, I pity some of the people that may join our teams or on this call right now that have never gone through hardship in their life. See, we can read all the self-development books, guys. It's noble. Please listen to the audibles, read the books, listen to the tapes, do the personal growth journey. But until you are at that moment to test yourself, you will never know what you're made out of. So we can read all the stuff, we can know all the things intellectually, and it's good to have that as a base. But how often, let me ask you, Amber, Anna, Tehani, right, Janelle, Nick, how often are you putting yourself in a situation that you are outside of your limits? How often are you trying hard things? How often are you doing the tough stuff? Are you taking the incline, the uphill, as opposed to the downhill, the friction versus the frictionless? Now, I'm not saying that all of you guys should run a half marathon, but some of you guys should. Maybe it's a Spartan race. Maybe it's a different athletic feat. Maybe it's trying something new. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation that you've been delaying for months. Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's severing. How many guys are putting off, delaying, or avoiding the hard things because you don't want to feel the pain? Here's what I'll tell you guys, is that a rope untested is a rope untrusted. Later that day, about an hour or two after the run, right, the endorphins go away. I couldn't walk. The next day, I woke up and nobody told me that the back of your rib cage would literally feel like seized up. Tony's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you forgot about that part? My back is killing me. You didn't tell me about the rib cage thing. And then on day 3, my toenails are turning blue. Like, what? But I have no regrets. I got to see what I was made of. I got to test the rope. A rope untested is a rope untrusted. I get goosebumps. And again, I err on the side. I don't want to sound braggadocious, but I have created so much of a inner strength, an inner warrior the last couple of days because I realized I can do hard things. And if I can do that race, there's a lot of other things in my life I can tackle. And if I can do that race, I could do it faster. I could do it better. I could do something else. I can expand my mindset of what it is that I'm capable of instead of putting myself constantly in a box saying, I don't run. Well, I don't lead. Well, I don't recruit. Well, I don't build a great business. Well, I'm not a leader yet. Whatever your box that you're putting on yourself, guys, I'm telling you to challenge it. And you might challenge it outside of the business and then it just carries over. It was the day-to-day mental preparation, the day-to-day of going through hard things, small things. I do hard things every day. Simple things, but they're hard. I make my bed every day. Hard, easy to do, easy not to do. It's hard to do. I read my Bible every day. Every day. I don't care what your beliefs are. You find your spiritual path. Every day I do my spiritual practices. Easy to do, easy not to do. Uphill habit, guys. I will tell you all of the little things that I do that are hard led me and built me up into that foundation that made that race possible. It was my mind. It was my mind. Now I want to encourage you guys that for those of you who have had hard things in the past, which I think we all have for the most part, and if we find ourselves not going in, like some of you guys right now, you have a brick wall ahead of you. And you're looking for every way to get around it. You look to the right. You look to the left. You try to see if you can go over it or under it. You just got to go through it. And I want to promise you, guys, raise your hand if you've had hard times. Raise your hand, 2 hands if you've had really hard times in your life. I have news for you. It didn't kill you. You lived to tell the tale. The worst times might have beaten you down, but they didn't kill you. So you can do the hard things. You got this. Pain is temporary. Apply this to whatever situation is in front of you right now. Might not be a race today, but it might be going out there and getting the last $2,000 you need to go requalify Pro 5. It might be those last few people that you need to help on your team. It may be going out there and pushing yourself beyond you've ever done in your PV or OV. It might be just going back to your list because you've been really mulling about it, thinking about it, praying about it, contemplating, evaluating, analyzing, looking at your list of names, wondering when you're going to really relaunch, and then finding yourself organizing your closet and redoing your kitchen and, calling your current customers because that feels good. But once you guys do the hard things, once you get the work ethic, guys, that's where you're going to find the self-esteem. I am a warrior. No doubt about it. And so are you. You just need to find it inside of you. Mental toughness is going to be the thing that you build if you put yourself in situations that allow you to test the rope. That every single day you get a chance to say, you know what, I'm going to add to it. I'm going to read something. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to work on my spiritual practice. I'm going to do my discipline. And then I'm going to see what I'm made of. And then you're going to be unstoppable. I want all of you guys to have this energy right now. I'm like, rawr! Still can't walk. I walk very funny right now, but it's worth it. I'll do it again. I'm looking at what's my next race. I've learned also that I don't like training. I like the race. So that's fun. No for training, yes for the race. The race is the best part. So, yeah. Anyways, that's what I have for you guys here today. The mantra that you create for yourself, the thing that you tell yourself, that you start looking at the brick walls, the friction parts of your life. And instead of running from them, you run to them, you run through them. that you tell yourself that yes, you can do it, and that you know that you're going to love yourself so much more because you did it. You've never loved yourself more by quitting. Never once in your life. You've never gained more self-esteem and self-worth by giving anything half-ass. Never ever. Remember that time, Rita, when you showed up very mediocre and you felt good about yourself? Remember that time, Candace, that you were unprepared, that you didn't take it seriously, and you did a crappy job, and you said, yeah, totally glad that I didn't give it my best. But think about all the times that you did something you didn't think you could do. Some of y'all gave birth to a baby, something the size of a watermelon. You can do hard things. So with that, guys, I'd love to open it up for questions, comments, concerns, compliments, critiques, anything about the topic of mental toughness, end of month leadership, Team Heart, Team Activate, anything at all to help you guys get a breakthrough. This is the time for live coaching that we have.